What's up, guys? Chris here to give my predictions for UFC 134 Rio. Not going to do the whole undercard. Just want to kind of touch on the main card and the spike bouts. I am surprised, though, that... it's also, before I get started, UFC 134 in Rio, obviously in Brazil. First time back since Vitor Belfort smashed Vanderlei Silva. I believe that was in the late before the year 2000. But don't hold me to that. But I think it was sometime around then. It's supposed to be a really big deal down there now that... Obviously, they got a ton of Brazilian fighters really running stuff in MMA. Most notably, of course, Anderson Silva. But anyways, like I said, as I was saying before I cut off on that little note, I'm surprised that Dan Miller, Husmar Paul Harris, is not on the spike portion of the card, the pay-per-view, just because I think stylistically that's a good matchup, and I think it's got ramifications more so than some of these other bouts. That said, on the spike card, you're going to start off with Thiago Tavares, Spencer Fisher, both coming off losses. Tavares is much more deflating, obviously, but getting knocked out by Shane Roller and all. I've liked Thiago Tavares ever since I seen him fight Tyson Griffin, and I thought he was going to be like a real force in the lightweight division, but unfortunately that hasn't really panned out just yet. Spencer makes a good fight of it every time out, except when he fights the wrestler and just holds him down. But for the most part, he's usually entertaining bouts. It's kind of a coin flip for me. I think it'll be an exciting bout, but I'm going to go with Thiago because I still have hope that he can. I don't think he'll ever be the lightweight champ in the UFC, but I still think he's got some potential. Paulo Thiago, David Mitchell. I am not familiar with David Mitchell. I believe he's 0-1 in the UFC. Paulo Thiago seems like he's been out for a while. He hasn't fought since that loss to Diego Sanchez. I'll go with Paulo Thiago just because, like I said, I'm not familiar with David Mitchell. No disrespect to him, but he's 0-1 in the UFC. Thiago's beat some pretty good guys, even though he's got some losses as well. So I'll go with Thiago by submission. Pay-per-view portion of the card. First up, Luis Kane taking on Stanislav Nedkov, another guy I'm not familiar with, Nedkov that is. I guess his last fight, or fight of note, was a split decision over Kevin Randleman in 2009. Anyone that knows my channel by now should know that Kevin Randleman is one of my all-time favorite fighters. But a split decision win over him in 2009 does not bode well for you, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Kane to win this one by knockout. But if Nedkov's a really good wrestler, as I believe he has a wrestling background, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes Kane down for 3 rounds. Kane, however you want to pronounce it, however it's pronounced, takes him down for 3 rounds and gets a decision. Ross Pearson, Edson Barbosa. It should be a fun little fight here. Barbosa's coming off that exciting fight over Anthony Njokuani. Both guys, they kind of plied their trade in the stand-up game, but unfortunately for Pearson, Edson Barbosa is much better in that. He's more well-rounded on the stand-up, especially with his kicks and his knees, and he's just a better athlete, in my opinion. I just think he's going to run game on Pearson, in all honesty. No disrespect to Ross. But I got Barbosa to win this one. Ross is tough, so I think he can go all 3 rounds, Barbosa wasn't able to get Andrew Quaney out of there. So I'll go with Barbosa by decision. Brendan Schaub taking on Antonio Rodrigo. Minotauro Nogueira. Obviously in their primes, I'd pick Nogueira without even second-guessing, but those days are far behind Antonio, unfortunately now. So I'm going to go with Brendan Schaub. Nogueira hasn't fought since that loss at Kane, which was well over a year ago. And he just, he hasn't looked himself since coming over to the UFC. I think all those ring wars he's been in took their toll on him in pride. A lot of mileage on the odometer, so to speak. And that legendary chin that he had doesn't have the same punch resistance. So I'm going to go with Schaub to win this fight by TKO. But if Nogueira can get this fight to the ground, he has a really good chance of submitting Schaub. I just don't understand the matchup, though. You'd think that the UFC would kind of match up Nog favorably, being he's one of the biggest legends of Brazilian MMA. You'd think they'd want to get him a win there, but who knows? Maybe he will. All right, real quick before I get to the final 2 fights, I got to get a drink, dude. I'm thirsty. I've been outside. It's hot. All right. Apologies for that. Co-main event of the night, Shogun Rua against Forrest Griffin 2. This guy's fought in 2007, was Shogun's debut fight in UFC. Everyone expected he was going to go in there and murk Forrest, but unfortunately Forrest turned the tables and got the upset. Shogun says he wasn't in good shape. Whatever it was, Forrest pushed the pace, overwhelmed him, wore him down, and submitted him late. Shogun coming off that loss to John Jones where he lost his title, he didn't look so good in that bout either, let's be honest. He looked pretty bad. He didn't even look in good shape. Not to take anything from John Jones beating his ass, but he didn't look to be on that good of shape. As for Forrest, he's coming off the win over Rich Franklin, which is a pretty entertaining fight. Who do I favor in the rematch and why? Man, it's hard to say with Shogun. I don't know how he's going to look, physically going to this bout. Like I said, he didn't look good in that Jones bout, and he got it handed to him. He got pistol whipped. Forrest, he looked pretty good in his last bout. if all things are equal and both come in close to 100% as they can, I'll favor Shogun by decision. But obviously, I would not be surprised if Forrest wins this fight, but I do think it'll go to decision in regards to who wins. Main event of the night, another rematch. Middleweight champion Anderson Silva defending his title against Yushin Okami. I'm sure everyone already knows by now. These guys fought back in 2006. Okami won. Anderson was disqualified for an upkick from the ground while Okami's knees were down. I think Anderson's been obviously Okami's been wanting to get this fight for the longest. I think Anderson wants to get a little bit of a, I don't know if you call it revenge, but just right or wrong, so to speak, in his mind. He's coming off that win over Vitor Belfort with that front kick, which is just devastating. And Okami's coming off a somewhat surprising win over Nathan Marquardt, which was a really good bout. So Okami's been trying to get this title shot for the longest time. It's finally here. But unfortunately for him, I don't think it's going to matter. Now, granted, he's been training with Chael Sonnen, who gave Anderson all sorts of problems on the ground. But even though Okami's got pretty good takedowns, and he's been training with Chael, I just don't think that he is still not going to be the wrestler that Chael Sonnen is. I don't think he's going to be able to really out-physical or overwhelm Anderson Silva and get him down time and time again like Chael did, or dominate him on the ground like Chael did for the majority of that fight. So I just see Anderson Silva looking to go out there and make a statement, get a highlight knockout win. He's getting a lot more recognition and sponsorships in Brazil. He's headlining this show for a reason, for a bunch of reasons, and I think he's going to make a statement. So Anderson Silva by knockout in under 3 complete rounds. So sometime in the third, most likely. Anyways, that's it for now. I want to get thoughts on the event, which fights you're looking forward to the most, who you got in the main event. Well, I'm sure pretty much everyone's going to probably pick Anderson Silva. Who do you got in the Shogun Forrest fight? That's kind of what I want to hear people's thoughts on the most. And maybe Shab Nogueira. Curious to see if anyone thinks Nogueira can muster up a bit of his old self and get the win here. That's it for now, though. We talked about this event and more on yesterday's Science Bites radio show. Link in the information part of the video, as always, in case you missed it, and link to ScienceBites.com, Twitter, whatever else. That's it for now, though. Probably back on Saturday night to talk about these fights, but until then,